everybody. Welcome to Goose's Disney Pod. It's week 3 of the Pixar season. We're in 1999. It's Toy Story 2. And I'm here with Cristian Duran. Cristian, what's up, buddy?
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, man. I'm very excited to talk Toy Story 2.
Yeah, man. Congratulations. Yeah, I asked this other guy. Do you know Todd Montesi?
No, I've heard the name.
Well, he's a funny guy, so I asked him to do Toy Story 2. And he gave me, I don't like cartoons, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter if you go on and say Toy Story 2 is the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen. It's just about the fucking, I like doing comics about it. Obviously, comedians aren't sitting around talking about Frozen 2 and fucking Cinderella all day, but that's what kind of makes this podcast fun.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate being your second choice or third or 10th.
I was gonna save you for like a Marvel film, and then I'm like, let me get
I appreciate it though. Well, this is like being on the wall of a comedy club. I finally made it on this podcast.
Yeah, I was like, the world can't wait for Cristian Duran. Fuck it. Of course, we were recording this. This is going to come out in 2 weeks. We're recording this on the 8th of November, and we just got tragic news that Alex Trebek died, and you killed him.
No, he did. He really?
Yeah. You didn't know he died?
No, I'm just learning this right now. What the fuck? I'm sorry. Can I curse?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Okay. This is for adults, I think. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, man, he's dead. You murdered him. Sorry.
Clearly. Dude, the shock of Trump losing was too much for him.
I think he was a Democrat. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just joking, but man, poor Alex Trebek. Well, I hate when people say rest in power, but rest in power.
Yeah, man. I hope they cancel Jeopardy. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like who do you get to replace him now?
I don't know. I think they're gonna get. They'll probably get I think they are gonna get somebody. I bet you it's gonna be like Aziz Ansari, someone really annoying that you'd be like, really?
That'd be great if they just get Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey just does all the shows,
and he does the same bit where he just like you give an answer and he looks at you weird. You're like, what is Washington D.C.? He goes, Washington D.C. All right.
Who did? Was it Will Ferrell who did Alex Trebek? What if they got Will Ferrell to do it?
That would be amazing.
As Alex Trebek. That would be actually
so distasteful.
Now, hey, listen, at this point, everything is. So, Cristian, before we get into Toy Story 2 and all that stuff, how long have you been doing stand-up?
Oh, man. I just celebrated 10 years in September. I started in 2010, obviously. I remember I was listening to Howard Stern show on September 18th or 19th, 2009. And Mitch Fatel was on. And I remember hearing him talk about his Comedy Central special coming out and all this stuff. And no disrespect to Mitch Fatel, but I remember thinking, I was like, I mean, this guy's not like a household name, and he has a Comedy Central special, and he's making a living at being a stand-up comic. I'm like, I think if I dedicated myself to it, I think I could do it. And then I started lying to my friends and telling them I had done it because I was like too nervous to do it. So I just lied and told all my friends that I had been doing it because I figured if I lie enough, I'll be put in a position where I have to do it eventually. So I just kept, so I would go to open mics in Florida, Orlando, and see people and like psych myself up and practice. And like, I wrote down everything and like memorized everything. And, I went to Austin's Coffee Shop on September 19th, 2010. It was exactly a year after, and I didn't even realize it. So then I did it the first time, and I did pretty well. If I heard it back now, like if I had a tape of it now, I'd be like, oh my God, that was so fucking bad. But I did pretty well to the point where I was like, well, if I can do it the first time and people enjoy it, I think I can keep going. So I've been doing it ever since. I was like, if I don't know how to do it and I do it well, then I can only get better. So.
Yeah, I was actually so funny that last week's Bugs Life guest, Mark Riccanon, had the same thing that if he had heard, he's glad he didn't have a copy of his first set because he'd probably be cringing. We all think our first set is we got this in the bag. We're going to be Chappelle in a year, and then it's like you get a humbling lesson in your next couple of shows. When did you move to New York City? Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, but that never goes away because if you tape your set, no set is as good as you thought it was in the moment
Yeah.
when you listen back to it, and no set was as bad as you thought it was when you listen back to it. You listen back to a bad set, you're like, I mean, I got a laugh.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have like sets on stage and I'll be like, "That's the one," and I'll watch the tape and I'm like, "That wasn't the one. What the fuck was I thinking?"
I know.
You know,
It's
like,
so heartbreaking.
God, I stumbled my word there. I looked out of shape. I this that. I didn't look up enough. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Anyway. Christian, when did you move to New York?
2011, April 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been doing comedy in Orlando for like 6 months. I was just like finishing school and I wanted to move anyway. So it just all happened to align. And then, which I always tell people, like, if you're going to start, like, I really don't recommend starting in New York. Like, start anywhere else and enjoy it before you get to New York. Cause it's like, it can get really heartbreaking. And, it's funny how I was thinking about this, like reflecting on the years I've been doing it, but it's funny how many people I let erode my confidence in New York that don't do comedy anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all the people that don't do comedy anymore, and you think about them and like they were the ones at the Creek mic that fucking made you feel like shit.
Yeah,
For
and now
bombing.
they're out of it. Well, I was so funny. I was thinking about that with the COVID, that there were so many people, especially the people who worked at Caroline's, that were so negative and nasty
Yeah.
about my career, and now they're gone. They don't have there's no place for them anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm still plugging away with my stuff, with my shows and stuff. And that's why I feel like COVID sucked, but I also feel like it was really good for comedy because I
Yeah.
almost feel it's going to be a table reset.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All the people that really want to do it are still doing it, and all the people
Mhm.
that were just trying stuff out because they needed to be heard, or
But also, like, there were people who they would literally just be in charge of a room and be like, "You're allowed in the room. You're not
Yeah,
allowed in the room." And those
yeah,
people are like, "Well, you're completely useless. You didn't have a real skill. So
right,
right now, what do you offer? Like, like, why would anyone need you? You know?"
yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's almost like people were only nice to you because you had something.
Yeah. And now no one has it. Let me ask you: have you been doing comedy during COVID?
Yeah, I did a couple shows. I've been doing Zoom shows, and I've done. Um, I did a show in Virginia at this brewery that Jordan Raybold sets up. It was pretty fun. It's like a big brewery, like high ceilings, everybody's socially distanced and stuff. And it was the first like live show I'd done. I think that was back in August, and it was really like intimidating and kind of scary, but it was also like really nice because um, I recorded an album and I don't really have anything like I don't have much stuff that's like I'm super confident in because
Mm.
like the album came out and then COVID happened.
Oh well, okay.
So it's like, all right, my rebuilding phase kind of went out the window. So I have a bunch of stuff and it's like, it's pretty okay. I think I have like a good, not a good, but 15 minutes to start that I can actually work on.
All right.
Um, but it was refreshing and nice to like go up there and not have to be super polished. And they knew that like everybody hasn't been doing comedy for like 8 months or 9 months or whatever it is. So like, who cares if you bring notes on?
Yeah, no
That
one
was
cares
like,
about that anymore. That's like, yeah, no one
yeah,
gives a shit. Yeah.
that was super liberating. And like, it made me feel like I could say anything and like do whatever, but it's been pretty fun and people are pretty appreciative. I did one show recently at like an actual comedy club, The Pair, and they can't really have obviously too many people, so they had some drunk like NYU students up front, and like they were just being drunk NYU students, and I'm like, man, it's like not even like we're back. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's back. Not even COVID's gonna change
I
hecklers.
think my friend Lynette was hosting that show. Was that the
Yes,
one?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
she told me, she was like, "Oh, this is horrible," and I was like, "Well, you want to go back to indoor comedy? You want to rush back? This is the
Yeah,
pitfalls of the village indoor comedy."
that's basically it. I mean, I remember, but the Pair has like gotten so much nicer too, though, because I
Yeah.
remember there would be shows back when I started in New York was that like you literally had to do well or everyone would leave, which happened to me. I remember I bombed so bad that the show was over.
Yeah. I feel like people are just now, they're grateful just to see something.
Yeah,
Because the movies are gone, the plays are gone. So just to see some form of live entertainment, like
yeah,
the shows I've been doing here in Astoria, because I just do outdoor shows, people are really excited to see it. Like they
sure.
just, so like I feel like now, and that this will probably last. It'll probably last like like when they fully reopen the city, which who knows when that's going to be.
Yeah,
And then about 3 months in the full reopen, they'll be back to being like, "Fuck you, you stink." Like, what do you,
yeah,
what do you really offer us? And they'll just move on. So like, we better enjoy this while we have it.
yeah. People are in a park show waiting for Dave Chappelle to show up. It's like,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
not.
ain't happening.
Yeah, he's doing the SNL. Christian, tell me about your childhood. What was that like?
I was born in New York, and I moved to Florida when we were 6. My dad was not around, drug guy. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I think if you grow up without a dad, you just don't like. It's like this is not a one-to-one analogy, but it's kind of like growing up deaf or blind. It's like you don't know what you're necessarily missing.
Yeah, or growing up without a brother or sister. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm sure people with brothers and sisters are like, oh, it was so much fun as kids. We all like played. And I'm like, well, I had fun playing by myself. I don't really, all the toys are mine. I don't have to share with anybody. So like, I get it. Yeah, you're just like, well, you don't know. You don't miss what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was like that. And I just basically just kind of like hung out inside and like, I moved a lot when we first got to Florida. So I went to a couple different schools. So by the time like we had actually settled down, I wasn't really like, I didn't have any like major friends that I would like go to their houses and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like, even like that, I'm like very good being alone. So I remember vividly having like taped episodes of Seinfeld, the one where he drugs the girl or like
gets the girl where he drugs the girl. I think you saw the wrong show. I don't think that was Seinfeld, dude. What?
Well, when they get
you have like a secret tape that Jerry filmed on a camcorder. I'm gonna drug this girl, everybody. What's the deal?
It was the episode where they get Jerry's girlfriend drunk to play with her toys because she has that huge collection of toys.
Oh yes.
And I remember watching that over and over during the summer, and then I had an episode of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno when Out of Sight was coming out, and I would just watch him interview J-Lo over and over and play an X-Men board game. And I had nobody else to play with, so I just played by myself with like it was just the most complicated game too.
Oh, really? While watching J-Lo?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny.
It's exactly like that scene. It's like that scene from Freaks and Geeks where that kid just comes home and just watches like The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Yeah, like single mom. My mom always was working. When she wasn't working, she was going to school, college, and getting her degree. So yeah, and then I just always loved comedy. I would like watch The Simpsons and stuff, and like that was. I wouldn't be the person I am today without The Simpsons. Like, it's the funniest show ever. It's the smartest show. I mean, obviously it took a dive, but it's just the fucking best, dude. Like you can rewatch those episodes like season 4 to 9, I would say, but even 10, man, I still think it's.
I kind of feel like the show kind of lost me, and I don't know what number this is season wise, around 2002, 2003. But up until then, I was pretty much on board with everything they did. Yeah. I kind of feel like behind the music, that episode should have been the series finale, and then
really.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you? I think that's when they should have called it a day.
I mean, I'm glad it's like I'm glad it's still on. It's kind of like I don't know. It's just nice to know that it's still there. But I get it. Like I haven't watched. I realize that it's my favorite show of all time, and there's like 17 years that I haven't seen.
Exactly, me too. I love that show. Well, I don't know if you remember, but like a few years ago when FXX got The Simpsons, they did a every Simpsons ever marathon where they went from episode 1 to 2014.
Yeah.
And it's like it was like 2.5 weeks, but I stuck with it. I watched. Really? I was like, I'm gonna watch every fucking episode. And the first couple of days were just incredible days, and then it got like very, very sad. And I was like watching these, and I was like, "Oh boy, this is something." And it just felt like nobody else was watching. I think people stopped because David encouraged people to tweet about it.
Yeah,
nobody was tweeting about it anymore. I was like the only person left. I think Mike Lawrence said to me, because he was watching it when I started watching it.
Yeah.
And Mike Lawrence wrote, like, dude, just give it up. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stay with this. I haven't seen any of this. And it would just be like, whoo, that's a bad one. Wow, I got up to like, I was around 2009, 2010. I was like,
wow.
that's a bad. And then I got to the end, and I haven't really watched Simpsons.
The one with the horse jockeys is one I can vividly remember being like, okay, I think I'm gonna stop watching this show.
Doesn't Homer have like a dream sequence where Bart and Marge are married? It was like really like strange.
Yeah.
It was like they were running out of ideas. And now I'll put it on, and Bart has like a iPhone.
Yeah.
And they're talking about, and it just, because I think Homer now, how old are you now, man?
I am 34.
Okay, I think Homer is supposed to be like my age now. Which
Yeah.
is fucking weird. Because they kept changing the origin too, because originally Homer and Marge met like some 1980 dance.
Yeah.
And now they keep changing it, so
they have to. It's like comics.
Yeah, so like I guess now they meet in 2011. What do they meet? At your comedy show?
Yeah, I know, really. One thing I want to go back to that behind the music episode. One of my favorite jokes from the whole series is where Homer goes, the money and the fame were like a drug, but what was even more like a drug were the drugs.
Oh yeah.
That to me is exactly why I love that show. It's like brilliant stupidity is.
Oh yeah, I still quote like help, like it's cold out and I'm being chased by wolves, and you hear the howling and stuff. Remember what Grandpa Simpson? The best episode of all time is the third son, the Cape Fear Sideshow Bob episode. That to me is just fucking perfection. It's
so good.
It's so good, and man, I really can't believe it. There's probably a new episode tonight. And we're not even giving a shit.
But I've heard that like people have written and stuff, they'll be like, it's getting actually kind of good. But I don't know.
I heard that in 2014.
Yeah.
I don't.
Sure.
I think.
No, go ahead.
I think now there's like different eras to this show. Like when that was, I found like there's a no homers message board.
Yeah.
And it's the fans, and like now there's people that break down the show into like I think 3, 4, or 5 different eras.
Really? And
I'm like, I just have a good era and a bad era, and the bad era is outlasting the good era. But
yeah.
But
that all goes to say that I just watched a lot of TV as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I love comedy and watched like everything. But
now, were Disney movies a big part of your childhood, or?
They were, especially like early on. I remember seeing Aladdin in the theaters, and for some reason, they did a back-to-back screening of it was either Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast, but a back-to-back screening of Aladdin and Homeward Bound.
Okay.
Far From Home. And like I saw that it was a double feature, and I just thought that's what movies were. Like you just saw 2 movies back to back. Mm-hmm. And now that I think about it, I'm like, maybe my mom just snuck us into the other theater.
I think so. Yeah, because Disney was already being greedy back then, so they wouldn't do double feature, especially. But now it's back to that because I went to go see New Mutants. That was last time I was at the movies. Yeah. At a drive-in Warwick, New York. And they only do double features. So it was New Mutants and Deadpool. We left before Deadpool.
Yeah.
But like, I definitely want to go back to that theater, but it's all double features. So the most drive-ins are double features now.
Yeah. How's New Mutants?
It wasn't as bad as everybody says, but it wasn't.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it was fine.
It was fine. It'd be like it's the worst movie ever. And I'm like, no, Dark Phoenix was pretty much worse than that.
Dark Phoenix was so weirdly almost the same thing as The Last Stand. And like,
I know.
Like,
but somehow I thought it was worse than Last Stand because at least Last Stand, I remember like how Shadowcat and Juggernaut, and I remember like really liking Kelsey Grammer as the Beast. Yeah. And there's a lot of bad parts and parts that like piss you off, but there's some cool parts, even like the little sentinel, not the big sentinel head that falls. Yeah. This movie has nothing. This movie is just, how do you remake a horrible movie and make it worse? I was just like, wow.
Well, that's one of the weird things about like Marvel. Like I'll see any superhero movie basically, and it's just so weird to me that like there's, I don't know, 7 or 8 Spider-Man movies, and there's like 2 of them that I've only seen once. That's like if you had told 12-year-old Christian that there's gonna be 7 Spider-Man movies and like 2 of them you're not gonna give a fuck about, I'd be like, you're goddamn crazy, dude.
Yeah, because I've watched like the 12, well, not the 12, the first like 9 Friday 13th movies when I was a kid over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So if I had 8 Spider-Man movies to watch.
Yeah.
I just would have been going ballistic all day long.
Right.
But then, like, you watch some of them and like, hey, this is not.
Yeah.
I just think like some stories, like for Dark Phoenix, I think you need access to the entire Marvel universe to tell that story the right way.
Right.
And I think the same thing with the death of Gwen Stacy. You need to build to that. What's another story that they kind of rushed? Oh, the Galactus. You really need. Yeah, and that's why I think Infinity War worked because, okay, they couldn't get Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer, but they had just enough characters to make that story work. If you did Infinity War and it's just like the 5 Avengers, it doesn't fucking work.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. You need those big stakes. You need the universe is gonna collapse stakes, especially for something like Galactus or Dark Phoenix. It's just I mean, as far as like Disney movies, I had Jungle Book on VHS, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, over and over and over and over and over. I really like Hercules when I was a kid, but like that was like when I was getting a little too old to watch, which actually brings it to like a Toy Story. The first Toy Story I watched over and over and over. It's really like a magical, like amazing film. And I was talking to my wife because we watched Toy Story 2 last night to get ready for this, but I was like, you know what? Like, I don't even remember seeing this in the theater or like even having a desire to see Toy Story 2 when it came out. Like,
I'm sorry. Do you have the thing about Toy Story 2 is they didn't really make sequels to animated movies. Like Disney had a thing where they were like, I think Walt Disney said, why would I just said Happily Ever After? Where would the sequel go? Because automatically you start the sequel with, we lied. Actually, shit got worse. Here's a new movie. So it's like, so they never did sequels. And the animated films that did get sequels, they were kind of shitty. Like American Tail 2, he's in the West. It's like, really? Like, Land Before Time had a bunch of shitty sequels. So when Toy Story 2 came out, I think everyone kind of thought like, there's going to be some shitty sequel. That first one was so good. What the fuck could the sequel be?
Right.
And I think it changed the game because now you have animated film series where all the movies are fucking excellent. How to Train Your Dragon. I never saw Shrek 3 or 4, but I like Shrek 2 better than Shrek 1.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So had you seen this before last night?
Yeah, I'd seen it before. And I was reading about Toy Story 2, and it was actually intended to be a direct-to-video.
Direct-to-video, yeah, because that's how they all were back then.
That was the model. Like, I remember having the VHS of Return to Jafar, which I watched all the time because I was like, Aladdin 2? Fuck yeah. Mm-hmm. But there was even as a kid, I remember having the perception of like, direct-to-video is not that great. So So I think there's like some elements of Toy Story 2 when I was watching it. I was like, this feels like a direct-to-video movie in some ways. Like if they took out the musical number with or the musical scene with Jesse, the backstory, it would be kind of just a VHS, like straight to DVD movie, if that makes sense. Like there's like, it's definitely not the original, but there's like enough good stuff. And I was reading that they like took all the ideas that they couldn't use in Toy Story 1 and just put them in Toy Story 2, like the idea of
well, I think the opening was supposed to be Toy Story 1 where like you're in space. Yeah. And which I thought was a great way to open this movie with Buzz Lightyear. Just really quick to summarize the plot for the viewers if you haven't seen the movie. Toy Story 2 picks up where Woody is going to go to cowboy camp with his owner. I'd love to call him Tim. Andy. I don't know what I was going to call him. Tim.
I mean, it doesn't matter, though.
Yeah, Andy, whatever. But then, like, one of the toys gets put in the yard sale. So Woody goes to rescue him, gets stolen by this greedy toy owner, gets sent to his toy collection where he meets Prospector Pete and Jesse. He finds out he's actually, like, a pretty wealthy toy, which I'm very surprised, like, no parent saw Andy walking around with Woody in school. It was like, you literally are walking around with a $500 toy. What is the fucking kid?
That was one of the things I was thinking about last night when I was watching this. I was like, if Woody's like such an old toy, like how did Andy get a hold of this? Like a good version?
The myth I heard was that Woody was also the dad's toy. and the dad died or something, and they gave it to Andy so he could remember his dad.
I wish they would do that, like the opening of Up. I wish they would do that in like Toy Story 5 and just like show that.
Oh yeah. Well,
Andy's dad's story.
I have an amazing idea for Toy Story 5. Want me to tell it to you? I think this movie, it'd be a little dark. So Andy is a failure. Andy has not accomplished anything. His life, he's never met anyone, and he starts collecting toys, and he has them in the package, and he gets, and now that you can do this, he owns Star Wars and Marvel and He-Mans and stuff, and then he decides that he's going to track down and get his old toys back. So have the little girl now as a teenager. She's like, whatever, give me $50. He gets them back. He finds Woody. And now Woody's like, I'm with Andy. This is great. And then Buzz and Woody are seeing that, like, Andy's this big fucking loser. He's like yelling at people in Fortnite.
Yeah.
He's like on a fucking QAnon message board. He's just completely, he's on an incel thing. He's completely fucked up. And they're like, holy shit, this is not good. You're supposed to grow up. Like, we thought, we got to get him out of this. And they're like, we have to get him to meet a woman. But the Marvel toys and like Darth Vader are like, no, we like it here. Like, we like the fact that, like, maybe he even has a diorama. Maybe they're out of the package so they can interact. But like, where like there's like an Infinity War diorama and Thanos is like, no, fuck that. We like it here. We're not gonna let you have him grow up. So the Avengers go after them. But he does eventually, like, they're trying to sabotage the date. Like, you have, like, the Black Order or the Stormtroopers trying to sabotage the date. And Woody,
the Knights of Ren.
The Knights of Ren are trying to. But he does eventually get with the woman. And the end of the movie, the end of the movie is you flash, and now he's, I don't know, he's doing something. And they have kids, and Andy's kids are now playing with Buzz and Woody.
Right.
And that's how the movie ends. Like, it's a whole new generation. Andy got a family. Maybe even moves into the old house again. And now Andy's son has the same room, and he has Buzz and Woody and Bo Peep and all that shit.
I'm not joking. I'm not being facetious, but like the angle of Toy Story 5 being about Andy's nostalgia is actually brilliant. Like, that's actually genius.
Yeah.
Because it really speaks to kind of modern sensibilities of like, at some point you do have to grow up though. Yeah,
because I feel like I'm the first, because like, okay, look at this. This is what I'm wearing. I'm turn.
Royal Rumble 2000.
Royal Rumble 2000. I'm gonna turn 40, but I feel like if this was 1980 and I'm like walking around in I don't know what they had in 1960, but a 1960 WrestlePalooza shirt, and I'm like 40 years old. People would be like, "What is wrong with him? Like, what's going on?" Or they. And now I feel like it's acceptable to just never to just never get over this shit. Yeah. And, you're allowed to just yell at people about Star Wars well into your 50s. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to fucking, you're just allowed to keep being a kid. And at some point, you're allowed to, like, yell about Steven Universe on Tumblr.
You're allowed to do a Disney podcast.
You're allowed to do a Disney podcast. Well, hey, listen, this covers a lot of Disney. Eventually, we'll get to adult shit. But I feel like, you can enjoy fucking Star Wars, but I don't think you have the right to act like a lunatic about it.
Right.
And I feel my whole thing is I feel like we're the first generation, and I mean people born in from 1978 to today, where we're allowed not to grow up, and you're allowed to be like, how dare you even ask me to grow up? Like, I'm doubling down now on my my collections and shit. So I kind of feel like a movie about that where Andy like doesn't grow up, and the toys have to be like, no, you've got to move on. You've got to like get a wife. You've got to become an adult. I think that'd be good because that's how we all are.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the first movie where the toys are like, no, you got to get away. We're trying to get away from you this time.
Yeah, and then you have basically Thanos, and you can even get Robert Downey Jr. to come in.
That'd be so funny.
James Brolin. You have like the the action figures be like, no, we like this. We're very happy here. Like,
yeah, that's fucking great, man. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. That's Toy Story 5. Fucking
Toy Story 5, the Infinity War, the Toy Story War. Just call it that. But
that's awesome, man.
Let's get back to Toy Story 2. So they had the toy. He hears Jessie's story that and now the other big rumor is that Jessie's original owner is the mom. That's the other like myth that the
Oh,
mom was
okay.
Jesse's owner, Andy's
Hmm.
mom.
And she grew up. Oh,
She grew
okay, I
up,
see.
yeah, and
Because yeah, it was never released. The timeline was never really established.
well, they kind of have it like being in the '60s. The mom, like
Sure,
the
yeah,
mom's like listening to like her posters are like not the mom, the original owner of Jesse.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the poster on the wall were like of the monkeys, like kind of like a monkey esque
yeah.
band. So Jesse got abandoned and is like, I just want to be in a collection. But eventually, Woody convinces her, come back to Andy's. Prospector Pete reveals that he can get out of the package. There's a big battle between them. While all this is going on, Buzz and the other toys go on a road trip to find Woody.
Hmm.
And they get to the place, they get to the toy store, and there's a new Buzz that's in a package who still thinks he's a toy. So now Buzz has to fight. Buzz has to deal with another Buzz
Yeah,
who's going through the same thing in Toy Story 1. Buzz's evil enemy Zorg shows up, and eventually though Andy brings Andy fuck Woody.
yeah.
Andy doesn't fuck Woody. That's be a whole. That's
I
Toy
mean,
Story.
that's
That's
Toy
Toy
Story
Story.
6.
That's Toy Story 6.
Toy
So
Story 6 with 3 X's.
yes, that's when it gets really dark. Andy's wife leaves him. Andy's like, I wonder what. Anyway, so fucking, they go back to Andy's place, and now Jesse and the horse, which was Target, right?
I think so.
Okay, they all live happily ever after, and now Jesse and Buzz are kind of like going to, I guess, I don't know what toys do. Do toys fuck? I thought they had
I
no
mean,
penis.
I don't think they have genitalia.
So they just kind of hold
They
each
just
other.
they just rub up against plastic.
Yeah.
And just create friction.
Yeah, because now Buzz and Jesse are into each other. I like it a lot. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's just as good. So when I first saw Toy Story 2, I put it on for shits and giggles because I remember the praise it got, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of intense. And I remember liking it. Like, as the longer went on, I'm like, this is so fucking good. How is this fucking good? Especially for a sequel to an animated movie. I like it a lot. I don't know what you think, but do you like it a lot, or?
I think it's like I kind of have the same opinion where I was just like, that was good. It was good.
Yeah.
I don't have like super fond memories of it, and I also don't have like I think a lot of the praise has to do with the perception of Disney sequels at the time, because you're just like, that was a lot better than most Disney sequels, and I think
Yeah,
people
and I think
were
it was also a lot better than most Disney films at the time. I think it's better than Bug's Life. It's better than
yeah.
Tarzan. So I think people were like just shocked that like, oh, here comes a cash in, and they're like, wait, what the fuck is this? Yeah.
Have you guys, like, I know you've done this podcast for a while, but like, have you like had an analysis about like the period essentially after the Lion King, which pretty much is like it all goes up to the Lion King and then it kind of declines a little bit?
Yeah, we did the movies made by Walt Disney Animated Studio.
Right.
And it's funny because you can see the decline that they have is countered with the rise of Pixar. Because as their movies get worse, Pixar's gets better and better until
it's literally 1995, right?
From 95 to 2005. Because in 2005, Pixar's like, all right, because I think Disney had the rights to all the characters pre-Cars.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, guys, we want more money. Our movie's making a. If you don't, that's cool. We're gonna go. So you can have Woody, you can have the Nemo fish, you can have all that shit. But we're gonna go create new movies with another studio. And Disney was like, fuck it, we'll just buy them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Disney buys them, which was a smart move because
and it's just in-house from then on.
I think they've made more money off Cars than every other movie that I just mentioned. So,
which is so weird because Cars is like real okay. I thought Cars was fine, but it's apparently the number one.
Cars is, Cars is like their weakest series, but they keep making them. And,
I thought they make like a ton of money from Cars toys and stuff.
They do. There's on the Cars 2. I think it was the Cars 2 or Cars 3 DVD because I watched those special features to get ready for this podcast.
Yeah.
They gave a number of how much money they make per year on just the Hot Wheels cars replicas, and it was like, are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit! No wonder you keep making these movies.
Of course.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get to like a Cars 6 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge moneymaker for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like specifically, like I would say Hunchback of Notre Dime. Not even. I would say from Pocahontas to Tarzan, or like maybe Atlantis.
Yeah.
That's like I don't know what happened, but like they stopped doing musical numbers. I guess in the Hunchback of Notre
Well,
Dame,
Hunchback they have them, and Hercules,
Pocahontas, and like Hercules, but like
Tarzan they kind of moved away because Tarzan it was like just Phil Collins singing over the music.
right, yeah,
Yeah, and then well, Atlantis they had no music.
yeah,
Emperor's New Groove, it was no music.
yeah,
And then it gets Lilo and Stitch is really great, but then it just gets down
yeah.
until about. I'm trying to think I like Chicken Little, but nobody liked it.
Yeah.
Meet the Robinsons is okay. I think like it
Home on the
keeps
Range.
Princess and the Frog, I think, has 2009. So from like
Yeah.
95 to 2009, it's just shit. But they had Pixar keeping them afloat. So
Have you done Princess and the Frog yet?
yes, I did that one.
Is it good? I've never seen it.
It's
And
all right.
I feel like I should.
It's all right. Here's the problem. Like when I watch all these movies in a row, like I just think to myself, I get kind of annoyed because I'm like, they could have gotten like Prince or Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson to make an animated movie about Black culture.
Yeah.
And it probably would have grossed $1 bazillion. And the first time they do like an animated film about Black culture and a Black woman, they have Randy Newman write all the songs.
Yeah.
And they're frogs for most of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, like you had access to everyone. And that's what you did. Like you're telling me you never thought about having a meeting with Michael Jackson? Like, hey, did you like Aladdin? Great, we're gonna do something about that, about like Motown. Can you write us some music?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
guess maybe
they weren't thinking like that. They weren't thinking in Black Panther terms at that time.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like, just there's so many great artists that probably could have came up with like so many great songs, and probably like imagine Prince writing a Disney movie. That would have been fucking insane.
Right. But the perception I think in Hollywood for a long time was that like
those movies are for little white kids.
yeah, or that like white people won't see movies with Black people in them or something. I don't know. I always feel like that was a perception for a long time.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I think like people kind of thought up until Little Mermaid that these movies were kind of old fashioned and corny.
Yeah.
And then Little Mermaid like kind of changed the game because the music was kind of hip.
Yeah.
But I kind of get like maybe like Prince probably would have laughed in their face if in 1988 they were like, "Hey, you want to write music for our next movie?" He probably would like, "Shut the fuck up," and like just like kept moving, Yeah, because like no, I don't want to do that corny crap. But like, money does talk.
That's true, but Prince in 2009 would have made the weirdest music, though. It wouldn't have been like the Broadway kind of versions of Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast. It would have just been like musicology.
Yeah, well, it would have been better than than this fucking ding dong. But yeah, it's all right. It's okay. I definitely say, do you have Disney Plus for the?
I do, yeah.
I definitely say give it a shot. I mean, like you can always shut it off, but like it's all right. It's pretty good. I mean,
one of the nice things about Disney Plus, and especially when I was watching Toy Story 2 last night, is like it looks amazing. Like the first thing I watched on Disney Plus was like Hunchback of Notre Dame for some reason, and it looks crisp and like beautiful. Like they really did a good job with it. But like Toy Story 2, I was watching last night, I was like, this looked like it could have come out yesterday or something. Like they really did a great job.
Well, Toy Story 1, like it still holds up, but you can definitely tell like this is their first movie. But Toy Story 2, it's like the improvements they made in like 4 years are like, holy fucking shit, guys. Like they were just nailing it. And some of the scenes are just so beautiful in the movie. Like especially the Jessie sequence where she remembers her previous owner. Yeah. Which I think that's the highlight of the movie.
I can't believe this movie came out in 1999 because I'm thinking of like what I was watching in 99. It was obviously like The Phantom Menace. Like I remember being so hyped for it. So I think that's why like I never really watched this movie. But to think that like Phantom Menace is like, I mean, you look at some of those effects and they look like shit now from some of those Star Wars movies. But like this movie looks like fantastic, dude. I can't get over it. Yeah,
it looks great. The other great thing I thought that still holds up, I'm like, how the fuck did the way they do the puppet show on remember? So Woody puts on the TV and it's his old show from the 50s, and it literally looked like a puppet show from the 50s.
Right.
Like it looked like it looked like a live action thing that they just filmed.
Yeah.
It was wild.
I was reading about some of the stuff about the movie, and there's this like, kind of famous story about like this movie almost got deleted.
Yeah, they didn't like it at all. They thought it was going really bad.
No, I mean, I don't know about that aspect of it, but I read that somebody accidentally Control RM star, and they
Oh,
started deleting the movie, and then they were like, "Holy fucking
oh
shit!"
no, I didn't hear that story. That's crazy. That's not on the DVD. Maybe
So,
like,
so apparently, what happened is like somebody's working on the movie, and they hit like this special combination of buttons, and like
mhm.
started deleting the entire computer that it was on, and it started deleting the whole movie. And they said that if they had 20 to 30 animators working for a year, then they maybe could have gotten the footage they had done back.
Mhm.
So it deleted like 90% of the movie that they were working on for all this time. And they didn't have like all the backups were deleted and shit too, and they didn't work. So they had like to go to some lady who was one of the producers on the movie
Mhm.
just had a kid, and she was like took the movie home to work on at home, and they were able to get it back just from that. But like, dude, they almost like fucking like you almost deleted a
What
whole
what
movie.
what
And my
was he
question,
doing that he deleted the whole movie? Like,
that's
what was he trying to delete?
that's gotta be I know that's gotta be like the second day shit. And
Yeah.
my question is that guy, does that guy get fired, or is that guy now the dude who almost deleted Toy Story 2 and they just give him shit for the rest of his
Uh,
career?
well, you know what? Because I watched the DVD. They never mentioned it. They probably just fired him because they probably like, get the fuck out of here, dude. The story behind Toy Story 2 is Disney goes, oh, look, we're making a sequel to Toy Story. We want to make a Toy Story 2 sequel. You guys can make it, but we're gonna fucking do it ourselves if you don't make it. And it needs to be like an hour long, like an hour. We're just gonna put it on DVD.
Yeah.
And they started making it, and Disney liked what they saw, and they were like, we're gonna put this in theaters.
Yeah.
And they were like, fuck. And then they didn't like it, and then they I know John Lasseter basically took it apart and restructured it. They changed because what they had was really bad, like really really bad, and then he
Mhm.
had some new ideas, and then they did have to throw out a lot of the movies a lot of the movie on
Yeah.
purpose, but not. But that's a crazy story, man. That the guy must delete the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, that's freaking nuts. And like they basically just had to grab her computer and put it under blankets and like drive it back to the studio to make sure they had it all, which is like it's fucking that's a level of like incompetence that's just
Mhm.
insane.
You know, the funny thing about this Pixar is like when I was watching behind the scenes of like all the early Disney films, they're all in like these studios. There's this footage. I don't know, maybe this was staged of like Disney in a room acting out the scenes, and the animators are acting out the
Yeah.
scenes, and they're drawing like actresses, and they're making faces in the mirror. So it's like kind of like fun to like, it's like a fun process to look into.
Yeah.
And then I watch all the Pixar behind the scenes, and it's literally just a bunch of people in a computer.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like nothing exciting. It's like the most boring, sterile workplace. And it's like, oh, like you watch a movie like Toy Story 2 or Coke, you're like, they must have so many great behind the scenes stories. And it's just them
It's
clicking on a
just
fucking yeah.
people working endlessly. Like I worked on this show called Our Cartoon President on Showtime.
Oh wow,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, it's an animated show, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just like the amount of time that this stuff takes to make and the amount of work that people have to make or have to do is fucking ridiculous, dude. It's
Yeah.
like it's pretty insane, like the level of like skill it takes, and like these are like genius level people, and just like hours and countless hours working on like something that gets like 100,000 viewers a week.
Yeah, and that's just imagine on at a Pixar film, like a
Yeah,
movie that's going to be in, well, it used to be in theaters worldwide and
with the
be
deadlines.
examined by everyone on the planet with a fine tooth comb.
Well, when I was working there, the Sonic trailer came out. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when they were like, all right, we're going to remake this movie. Basically, we're going to redo Sonic. And
Mm-hmm.
all the animators on the Slack channel were like, that's insane. Like, cause they all understood how much work is going to have to go into
Mm-hmm.
redoing an entire movie. And they were like, I hope like, that animation studio is going to go under. And like, I hope they get their money.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it paid off because Sonic
It did.
probably the last blockbuster we'll ever have.
Probably.
Yeah, so I think it paid off, and I mean, I didn't love the movie, but like, it's a lot more tolerable with how good Sonic looks now.
Yeah. Here's a
Yeah.
question I have for you about Toy Story that I was asking my wife that I didn't like. Maybe you've gone over this in Toy Story 1, but like, so the toys have to pretend that they're like not alive when
Yeah.
people come in.
Yeah.
They can pretend like um what was oh yeah, my question was, if Buzz doesn't believe he's a toy, why does he pretend he's not alive when all the other toys do?
See that? Yeah, that's my thing. I was always I was when I first saw Toy Story 1. I'm like, well, I think I was saying like, well, it's just like this will of God. So like, if you walk
Yeah.
in, your toys stop moving because
Right.
God demands it, or like the powers that be, whatever force
Yeah.
that brings these characters to life. But then Woody at the end of Toy Story 1 reveals that he can move to the Sid and
Yeah.
freaks
Yeah.
him out.
Exactly.
So yeah, why wouldn't Buzz just have gotten up and said, "Hey Andy, I'm a fucking toy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I'm a
I'm a
guy.
fucking dude. I'm sorry, I'm a
Yeah.
fucking dude, and you need to give me a spaceship." And Andy would have had a fucking mental breakdown.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's like a weird whole. I don't really understand. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not like gonna be one of those guys like just fucking ruin the movie for me. I can't fucking ever
Well,
watch
in
it.
Toy Story 4, they are literally. I don't know. Have you seen Toy Story 4?
I did on a plane, and I was like, yes, that was fine.
Yeah, but Woody is breaking the rules left and right. They're like stopping the car. Remember, like
Yeah.
they break them. They are literally almost like Chucky dolls in that movie.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, you're not supposed to be breaking the rules this bit. The parents, I think child services should take that kid away from those parents because they are brain dead. I mean, did at one point like Jesse pretends to be the GPS or something, or
Oh yeah.
and the father just drives into a wall. It was just like, but yeah, they're really breaking the rules, and yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing because like, yeah, like why would it? Yeah, I don't know. And at the same time, it's like they move around that room so much.
Yeah, like, and also like if it is like an instinct, like, because that was always my thought as a kid. It's like it's like an impulse, an
It's an impulse to just
involuntary
shut
thing.
down. Yeah.
Right. They just shut down automatically. But if that's the case, why do they try so hard to get back into their positions? Like if you didn't make it, you just would fall down. You wouldn't.
Yeah,
You know what I
because
mean?
like you'd have to be like like something horrible must have happened where a toy showed itself, and
And the
that
toy gods came down and were like,
yeah, or
"Fuck
like
you."
yeah, or like they fucking started burning toys in some neighborhood. Like, oh, the toys are alive, and they like just
Yeah.
toys, and the other toys were like, we gotta fucking listen, we gotta. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, the Pixar movies, like, it's a nice little world. They do raise some like creepy or some weird questions, like sitting with cars. There's buildings in the car movies. There's buildings, and there's like things clearly meant for people, but there's no people. And who is building these cars?
It's like Planet of the Apes, but with cars. Like
Yeah,
the cars just took over.
yeah. It's like and like how do they have babies? Because some cars are babies, and like and the cars hit on each other. Like, do the cars fuck? Like, it's just like these really weird, like creepy questions. This thing with toys, like how do the toys come to life? Like, are sex toys part of they're toys?
I mean, I think that's a question for Toy Story 6 XXX.
Yes, yes, and then Toy Story 7 will just be, I don't know, will be fucking
Toy Story 7 is all sex toys.
Toy Story 7 is the Nintendo comes to life. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what toy. But yeah, no, that's weird. That is a weird thing, and yeah, I don't know. That's a funny plot hole in the first Toy Story. I never really thought about that. Yeah, why would not Buzz just been like, "Hey kid, take me to
Yeah,
my
I'm
planet."
fucking alive, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, take me to fucking Zurg.
Who was your favorite character in Toy Story 2?
I guess, man, that's a good question. You know what? I kind of like the second Buzz.
Yes,
Like,
he was very funny.
He's really funny. He's a standout in the whole movie. It's like, it really does. He plays that role. It's like a good callback to the first one, and then like, it's almost like Cap. Like Buzz does the kind of Cap thing in Avengers Endgame, where he's like, the Hail Hydra moment.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, just turn on your lasers or whatever. Like, you can outsmart him by having some information that this other guy's not privy to.
Yeah, Buzz was kind of not annoying in the first movie, but like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
I kind of felt like this was the only movie where I felt like Buzz had a real character, and I kind of feel like Buzz is just there in Toy Story 3 and 4.
I think so too.
And like those movies are more about Woody.
Yeah.
Because once Buzz found out he's a toy and he accepts that he's a toy, there's not a lot for that character to do.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way about that too in this one. That's why I think that was one of the things where I was like, this feels like a direct to DVD movie because Buzz didn't have a lot to do.
Yeah,
it was
he
just
doesn't really. He doesn't.
Woody.
Woody constantly is going through journeys in these movies.
Yeah, and like the first movie is a lot about Buzz and Woody's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
This one is definitely not, and I think Toy Story 3 or 4, whichever one is they had separate is.
Well, I feel like they gave Buzz a lot less lines in Toy Story 4 because Tim Allen was so crazily pro-Trump, and they're like
let's calm that down.
Yeah, I feel like they gave and at that point there's just so many characters in Toy Story 4.
Did you ever see his show Man of the House?
I've tried to. I can't believe. That show somehow has lasted an ungodly amount of years. I don't know anyone who watches it. Yeah. I don't know, but now I think it's rerun like on like 7 channels now for some.
I remember watching it once, and in sitcoms you can kind of, if you just watch any sitcom, like season 3, episode 13, you should be able to just grasp the relationships between everybody. And it was kind of like that. But when I was watching it, I was very like much of the opinion that like he has a black neighbor and they don't get along. And I'm watching the show. I'm like, it seems like the only reason they don't get along is because he's black. Like as a new viewer, that was the only reason I could figure out. Cause like he comes to his house. He's like, oh, your buddy Obama. Fucking.
Oh, yeah. Your buddy Obama.
I'm like, why did they? Because like in another sitcom, it's like, oh, hello, Newman. He just doesn't like him because they have like some weird antagonism, because Newman's a creep or whatever. But this is just like, I don't like that black.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they missed the point in All in the Family, because All in the Family, Archie Bunker was a racist and he didn't like George Jefferson. But he didn't like George Jefferson because George Jefferson was kind of like a greedy businessman. Yeah. He was kind of like a shitty neighbor. Yeah. It's not just like you're a black guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Lionel was friends with, I think, Gloria and Meathead. Here, on that, he's like, oh, he probably got like, well, yeah, Archie liked the Jeffersons because they were black. You know? Yeah. And it was like, well, there were other things to that relationship. You know? Yeah. George Jefferson wasn't the greatest guy in the world, but.
Right.
Yeah. It's just he's doubling down on his nonsense. So.
But yeah, I felt like Buzz in this movie got a little short shrift because I just don't think they like. I think it's kind of exactly what you said. Like they were like, we're making a direct to DVD movie, and then when they found out it was like theater, they're like, ah, shit, we really didn't write a lot for Buzz in this because there's no development to that relationship.
Yeah, and I feel like Jessie almost takes Buzz's place.
Yeah, because
she has a big emotional journey. Yeah.
No, you're right. Because it doesn't really make sense to end the movie with "You got a friend in me," because like who are we talking about here? Like Andy, who's not in the room.
Well, I think they just all their friends now with toys.
I guess. I don't know. I guess that's just the theme song for the movie, but it's like that song makes sense in Toy Story 1, whereas this one is just kind of like, yeah, I guess we're all friends and our friendship was never tested.
Yeah, also, what if Andy got home and said, I don't want this fucking girl cowboy toy, just throws it in the garbage? Like,
yeah, that would be an amazing
What is this?
It's like, this is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, like, you take it fucking what's the little sister's name? I don't forget.
Oh yeah,
the little
just
sister
puts it on top of the shelf.
Yeah, like,
immediately.
Yeah, like, instead he's just like, oh, I guess I'm playing with Jessie and the girl toy. I am shocked that because the mom goes, it's a family heirloom, and that's right, Toy Story 3, he's gonna take him to college with him. But I'm shocked like they didn't try to sell Woody at any point. I'm shocked that mom, when he goes, I gave Woody away to this girl, I'm shocked that mom wasn't like, what? We could have fucking sold him for like $500. Fucking
yeah, I know, really. See, that's why I like your Toy Story 5 script, because Andy's a creep that he wants to take him to college. Like, none of my toys would have gone to college with me. Like, that's so fucking weird, dude.
Yeah, and I feel like, this is the generation that doesn't grow up. So I kind of feel like, Andy's saying like, I'm going to remain this way forever.
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty. He's regresses, and then the toys. You got. It's a movie about letting go, and I feel like because I feel like Disney and Warner Brothers are catering to guys our age. Be like, do not let go. Do not let go. Guess what? Fucking Michael Keaton's coming back for the Flash movie. Yeah. Don't fucking let go. Whatever you do. And I kind of feel like it'd be fun to make a movie where it's like, no, let go. Let go. Like,
I know.
You can like this stuff, but don't. It's not that serious.
At some point, you got to put down child stuff and take up adult stuff. It is funny too because everybody's doing it now. Because it's like, you like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield? I don't care. Just put them both in a movie, and
we'll make it make
Jamie
sense.
Foxx.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx is back. Yeah, I feel like they haven't announced those two coming back yet because I think they want a teaser out in December.
Yeah.
I think the teaser's going to show the two of those two actors.
You got to. Yeah.
You can't bring back this shitty Jamie Foxx version of Electro and not Andrew Garfield.
And J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah James. Are they doing and I don't want to get too Marvel unless you want to.
That's fine. It's a Disney podcast.
But are they doing Sinister Six or are they just doing Electro?
I think this is what I think they're going to do. I think because they left a big. I think that it's going to be Into the Spider-Verse. Doctor Strange is also in the movie.
Yeah.
I think what the storyline's going to be is that something happens to Andrew Garfield, and Miles Morales in that universe becomes the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because then you have your own Sony Spider-Man universe with Miles Morales. You can do whatever the fuck you want in it. You can make a Silver Sable movie. You can do anything. Yeah. And then you have Tom Holland in the Avengers universe, so he can be part of the Disney films.
Sure.
And I think that's what they're going for because Andrew Garfield's the worst Spider-Man. You can't kill Toby. People will fucking riot. But if you kill Andrew Garfield, and plus there's still a secret thing, like what really happened with the dad? What really happened with Norman Osborn in that universe? You don't really know. So you can have Miles look at. I think the big thing they were leading to was that the dad was still alive and he's the actual villain. Do you remember the Andrew Garfield ones?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was like, "There's two Spider-Man movies."
Yeah.
I've only seen them.
Yeah,
I've only seen Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think once.
They kept focusing on the fucking dad, and the dad is not part of the mythos. It's almost like it doesn't even matter how parents died; they're just fucking dead. What matters is Uncle Ben. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. It was never important until they started getting into like they were spies and.
Well, yeah, they were these scientists. I think the big thing was the dad was behind everything. And the dad's the villain, and the finale of that story was going to be the dad versus Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I think now it should be Miles Morales has to fight Peter Parker's dad, and Peter Parker's dad is the head of Oscorp, but not Norman Osborn. And now Peter's dead, so the dad blames Miles, and he goes after him. And then you could create a whole new Spider-Man universe with Miles in that world with Jamie Foxx. You can make Jamie Foxx like his relative or something.
Yeah. Did you ever see, I'm sure you did, the Spider-Man animated series? Like the last episode they did, like what if Andrew Garfield becomes Spider Carnage? And like they basically do that whole last
the one in the 90s.
Yeah, the one in the 90s. Where
you could do that. You could have him be Spider Carnage. Yeah.
He's gone crazy.
But yeah,
Gwen Stacy died.
I think they want to. I think the reason why they're going to multiple universes because they're like, hey, probably say to Disney, you have Tom Holland. We want to create our own Spider-Man universe where we don't have to worry about you, but you can always have Tom Holland and the Avengers and the X-Men visit this universe.
Yeah. I also think they like, especially now that they have Sam Raimi on board doing Doctor Strange. I think they want to do closure on Spider-Man 3 because it ended so somberly.
Yeah.
Like I just watched Spider-Man 3 the other day and like I was like, man, this ends like they wanted to do another movie.
I wanted Toby Spider-Man. He has like two kids with Kristen Dunst, Mary Jane, and like he's training them to be heroes. And that Spider-Man I want to like retire happily. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man can be fucking chopped up into pieces and fed to sharks for all I care. I fucking hated that Spider-Man.
The thing I didn't like about that Spider-Man was they made him like emo, like he was cool, like fucking skater.
You remember the training sequence was like him with Coldplay playing in the background? I'm like, really?
Yeah, that was lame.
Who the fuck thought this was a good idea?
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Yeah, it was a. Ugh.
It was a lot of misguided steps in those two movies. Like just doing the origin story again and
Oh yeah,
doing
only 10 years later. Like,
yeah.
what is? Can you imagine like if next year we were getting a new Thor
Yeah. And they
and it was
just
like a whole new story? Like, really? Like,
like, okay, all right, we're doing
that
this again.
that feels like it just came out yesterday.
Like if this new The Batman movie came
Mhm.
out and it's like the first 30 minutes are like
My
his
parents got
parents
shot.
dying, I'm like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah. Or a new Superman movie where it's like he lands in Smallville and like the parents like, oh, I can fly, mom. Like, all right, we fucking got it. You just
Yeah,
get
we
to
got it.
get to fucking Metropolis, dude. Let's fucking move. But yeah, Toy Story 2. Would you recommend kids nowadays watch it? What do you think?
Of course, man. Kids are gonna watch it. My kids are gonna watch it someday.
Or do you
Uh,
have a kid? Is she pregnant?
no.
Oh, okay. I could have swore that you announced that she was pregnant.
I have not announced that.
Did I guess it?
You might have
Oh,
to cut that out.
Oh, sorry.
It's all
Okay.
good. It's all good, dude.
Hey, I have a sixth sense. How about that? Sorry.
Yeah, nobody I know. I mean, nobody in my family is gonna be listening to this podcast, so
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Okay. Were you waiting to do it on Inauguration Day with next to
Yeah,
Biden?
yeah, exactly. That's gonna be my Joe Biden news. Yeah, we're gonna announce it on after Thanksgiving, I'm sure, but
Okay.
still early.
I'm
Anyway,
sorry. I
no, you're all
apologize.
good. You're all good.
I don't know how I knew that. I
You just guessed.
I saw a thing in my mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
This has been a great episode.
But yeah, of course, my kids are gonna watch that. They're gonna, you know what's crazy? My kids are gonna grow up in a world where they have 7 Spider-Man movies, 4 Toy Story movies, 2 Frozen movies, all this shit. Like we never, you know what I mean? I watched Ninja Turtles 2 because I had the VHS tape. I watched that 90 million times, wishing there was another one, wishing there was like 4 or 5, and they just get that.
But you know what? Like, so when I was a kid, you know, I was born in '81. I come to a world where there's already like 12 James Bonds and 22 Godzillas and 8 Planet of the Apes movies. And to me, it wasn't that big of a deal because I'm like, well, who cares? Those are old movies. Like I eventually watched them, but it wasn't as big to me as like. So I feel like what they grew up with that doesn't have a movie yet, they're gonna want that to have a movie. Whether it's Fortnite or fucking, they're gonna, oh my god, if they could only make a fucking, what's the thing that kids like nowadays? They can only make a Fall Guys movie. I don't know. They can only, you know what I mean? I can only see that on the big screen. So like, they might come into a world. They might like Spider-Man, but to them, it's like, you know, there's just like I've never seen those James Bond movies, and I'm sure like there's some kid in if you tell a kid in 1970 there's gonna be James Bond movies till 2020, he's gonna be like, I want to see them all. But to me, it's just like whatever. Yeah, it's just James Bond movies.
And it's like it's like I said before, it's like imagine telling somebody that like there's gonna be 7 Spider-Man movies.
Oh, if you told me that
they're gonna do Mysterio. They're gonna get to Mysterio, bro.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
And they're gonna get Jake Gyllenhaal, like a respected actor, to play Mysterio, and it's gonna work.
And it's gonna tie into like Iron Man. Iron Man's in the movie, and you're like, wait, Iron Man's in the movie? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, it ties in Iron Man 1. It ties in there's an Iron Man 1.
Dude, if you had told me that Black Panther was gonna be like the biggest, fuck that Iron Man, because people forget Iron Man was so B tier, marginally almost C tier.
Mm-hmm. Nobody bought that book.
Nobody, and then for that to be the biggest movie and the biggest character.
Well, see, I always knew Iron Man because I thought like I thought like in the 90s Tom Cruise could have pulled that off like brilliantly, because I remember a writer said he's fucking Rockefeller and James Bond and a Transformer all at once. Like he's all these cool things and nobody seems to get it. And I'm like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise would be good in that, or like even like Tom Selleck in the 80s. But I feel like there could have been a lot of bad Iron Man movies. They lucked out by nailing it. There could have been a lot. It's easy to fuck up that character.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of comics where he's fucking unreadable.
Yeah,
back in the day.
Tom Cruise's Iron Man would have been fucking really insane. I was thinking the dude from Kieran Culkin, Succession. he could do a good Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, well, that was different because Iron Man didn't crack jokes. I don't know if you remember. Iron Man was not a joke
He's
cracker.
pretty serious.
Yeah, he was pretty much like, "Hey, Captain America, we have to go here and fight these 3 villains, and Scarlet Witch, you go over there. Thanks, guys. I used to be an alcoholic." And then
the only thing I don't like about like Tony Stark dying and all this stuff, especially since Fantastic Four rights and X-Men rights are now at Marvel, was now they kind of can't do the Illuminati stuff, which actually I asked you for a recommendation. You sent me Secret Wars, Jonathan Hickman stuff.
Yeah.
I really like the dynamic between Black Panther and Submariner.
Mm-hmm.
That unfortunately we're probably not going to get now.
Yeah. I kind of feel like Hickman, because a lot of Infinity War was based on his Infinity crossover.
Yeah.
I feel like Hickman is basically doing R&D with the books that he writes, and then they take his shit and put it in the movies. Because a lot of because Black Panther is a big part of Secret Wars. He gets the Infinity Gauntlet. And I kind of feel like once they saw how he wrote him, they then went, and okay, we're going to make a Black Panther movie. We're going to put the Black Order in. Because I kind of feel like secretly they're like, write these comics, but write them as if you're pitching us movies.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're definitely right. I really am interested in Fantastic Four. But anyway, I'm sorry. Let's get back to Toy Story 2.
That's I was going to wrap up the Toy Story 2 talk.
Right on.
So fuck. Oh, yeah. So I asked you, if you thought kids should watch it, and then we got interrupted by the inauguration day announcement. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great movie. I think it holds up, and I think when people saw this, I like Toy Story 1, but I still was like hesitant. I was like, all right, that could be a flash in the pan. That could be this, that, and the third. And then I saw Toy Story 2, and I'm like, oh, Pixar is for fucking real. Like, I didn't really like Bug's Life that much. It's okay. I don't think it's that.
That's a movie that I watched a lot when I was in school. Like they had the VHS and would just play it for us all the time. Yeah. Like, especially in the last days of school when they stopped teaching. Mm-hmm. That's a movie I saw a lot, but Toy Story 2 is one that missed me. And then Monsters Inc. came and I was like, oh shit.
Oh, Monsters Inc. is an all-time classic. I think it's it's a perfect animated film. One of the most perfect.
Let me ask you this. Where do you put Toy Story 2 in the ranking of Toy Stories, and where do you put it in the ranking of Pixar?
No, everybody loves Toy Story 3. I like it too, but I would put Toy Story 1 and 2 like neck and neck. Literally, it's Toy Story 1. I think it would go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How about you? How do you rank them?
I would go 1. I might go 1, 3, 2, 4. 4 was like my least favorite.
The only reason I kind of like have a weird thing with 3 was I went with a girl on a date, and when I got to the theater, this is where I got the idea for Toy Story 5. It was all people our age. I was 29 and she was like 22, and it was all people around that age, and I felt like, oh, this movie is just for people who can't, people like, I want to be like a child again. And I thought to myself, like, if they came out with Cinderella 3, there'd be no adults in the theater. This is like almost like we are taking it over. And I liked it. I liked it a lot, but it also made me cry, and I didn't like crying in front of her, although she was crying too. And I kind of feel like, I kind of wanted to hang out with her later, and I kind of felt like it put like a dour thing on it. Yeah. So I don't know. I had this weird, like, not a bummer, but like I feel like not only am I too old for this, but everybody else is too old for this.
Yeah. I actually went on a date that turned out to not be a date on Toy Story 3. I took a girl to see Toy Story 3, and I was like, I think this is a date. It was not a date.
I guess a lot of people had dates for Toy Story 3. It did feel like this was everyone's idea of date night when I went to go see Toy Story 3. Yeah, I know. Toy Story 1 and 2 are like more private experiences for me. I think that's why I enjoy it more. When like animated films, I did see Toy Story 4 in theaters because I made it a point to see the Toy Story films in theaters now. Yeah. Where I don't see any other. And I like that more because nobody was in the theater. It was just me and my friend, and I enjoyed that a lot. But I kind of feel with like these movies, because they're meant for kids, not much for me, I enjoy them more when I'm by myself. Yeah. I don't feel like a lunatic. I don't know. I kind of feel like a maniac when I go to see one of these movies in the theater. So. Yeah,
I saw Toy Story 4 on a plane on the way to my honeymoon, and I was just it's fine. And usually when you watch a movie on a plane, it's way better because that's all you can do. Like you like it a lot more, but that one was like, I had no interest to see it in the theater and no like compulsion to check it out.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that's my favorite animated film series. So, like, if they make a Toy Story 5, if it's not my idea, I'm probably not going to see it. But if they make a Toy Story 5, I mean, well, I don't know. Well, I think that let me ask you this. This is going to be an interesting time to do a podcast about everything, and we'll wrap this up. But Soul is coming out for free. You don't have to pay extra fee on Disney Plus. Yeah. And Soul is, first of all, Soul looks like I'm going to be crying my eyes out. Do you see the trailer for Soul?
I haven't seen the trailer. I know what it's about, though.
Okay, watch the trailer because it's like, I'm like, oh, this movie I'm not going to be able to pull. Especially as comedians. So it's about a jazz musician who finally gets a big break. And he's like a music teacher. He's like in his 40s. And he falls down a manhole and he's in a coma. And the little spirit is like, no, you have to go to heaven. And he's like, no, I have to achieve my dream. And it's like, this is what life is about. He's trying to, and like, I could see myself like almost welling up because it's like his family's there. And like, oh, he's like, I got to get back to achieve my dream. This is what it's all about. And I feel like as a comedian, we can relate to that. Like, me or you, we finally get a TV deal. And then like, the fucking roof falls on our head.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, but they're putting it on Disney Plus, and when I saw the trailer for this, I think in February, I'm like, oh, this is going to make $1 billion. And now they're kind of like just giving it away for free. Do you see a future where we're back in movie theaters, or do you think it's going to be all streaming now? With and Borat and
I honestly think COVID expedited what was going to happen.
Yeah,
because I figured that the movie theater experience was going to go away. It made me sad that like my kids they're just not going to have the theater experience, or it's not going to be the common way to do it. I always imagine that at some point people were just going to get big enough TVs or screens or whatever. And there would be some kind of model where it's like pay-per-view, like a new movie comes out, like Mulan, you pay $30, you pay $50, and then everybody comes over and watches it on your big screen, your theater room. And it's like a party and you guys all enjoy it in your home instead of going to the theater. I kind of figure theaters are going to die out just because the model is just sort of outdated. And I hate that because, Get Out is a perfect example of a movie you got to see in the theater where everybody's shouting at the screen.
Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame. I said for Endgame, I thought they should, on the DVD, they should put a track where you have a live audience watching it with you, because part of it is just like, it's like listening to a great stand-up album, or like even Seinfeld. When you watch back, like some of the rewatchability comes from the fact that like there's some live laughter, and like you hear some lady just doing a high-pitched laugh who's just, there's thought in laughter and there's thought in reaction and all this stuff. It's like, you got to have that. And it just makes for such an enjoyable experience, as we've seen with piped in crowds for wrestling and
that's wrestling wrestling. It just feels so weird. The Thunderdome and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then I also feel weird with AEW having people in the crowd. I get like,
I know.
I'm like, this is a horrible idea for a new company. but they're super Republican, AEW. Yeah.
But I think I just imagine the theater experience is going to go away at some point. It makes me sad because I loved it, but I just don't see how it survives. It just doesn't make sense.
It's so expensive now, especially.
But it didn't make sense to begin with because they were making their money off popcorn and shit. Yeah, that was the only way they were surviving anyway.
Yeah, and like little movies were dying. It was all about the big. Yeah. I think they kind of like priced themselves out because the reason why they can't open the theaters is because they need to have like a movie like Black Widow on 15 screens, 100% capacity, just to get their money back.
Right.
And it's like, if this was back in the 70s or the 60s and they're making like not low budget, but like a movie, a romantic comedy with Audrey Hepburn is not going to cost as much as fucking Black Widow. Yeah. Just it is what it is. I mean, she's literally standing in a room talking to another guy. She's not like jumping off buildings and shit. If those are the movies that are popular, I think the theater could come back. But because like they kind of did it to themselves, these movies got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they never try to champion little movies. That it's like,
But they never champion little movies because they don't make money. Like people go to see Black Widow and people want to see those little movies at home.
Yeah, well, but that they did it to themselves because if you look at the top 10 movies from the '80s, Terms of Endearment is right up there with Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's
Yeah.
not like there weren't. Remember, the reason why Raiders of the Lost Ark and like Ghostbusters stand out to us is because there were no other movies like that coming out.
Right,
Everything
yeah.
else was like a teen comedy or a drama or
Yeah.
So when you look at the top 10 grossing movies, there are movies about like fucking single moms or fucking divorces that
Yeah.
are making just as much as adventure films. So
Yeah, I mean,
They-
my
they-
wife and my
Oh,
wife
sorry.
and I were watching. No, sorry. My wife and I were watching Napoleon Dynamite was on TV, and we were kind of
Mhm.
like looking up facts about it and stuff. That movie was made for $40,000,
yeah.
and it made like $4 million, like a crazy amount of money. And it's like, I remember when the Last Jedi came out, and there's that Twitter campaign to like, we are a bunch of fans, we want to raise money to remake The Last Jedi. And I was like, why don't you? Okay, let's say you can make $200 million off your stupid idea. Why don't you make 10 movies that are like interesting and way better than that?
Yeah. Well, but the crazy thing is, even Napoleon Dynamite, because I was working at Carol at the time, I wasn't doing comedy yet.
Yeah.
But you had to look far and wide for a theater to see that in.
Right.
They were already bearing movies like that. That movie came big off DVD.
Yeah, yeah. I saw it in the theater, and I remember being like one of 10 people in the theater going like, what the? This is amazing. This is brilliant.
That was a great movie. Oh, man.
But yeah, I don't think I think theaters are going to be a thing of the past, and I don't know if they're going to come back. I would love them to, but it just doesn't make sense anymore.
I kind of feel like Soul is going to be like the beginning of a new era because I think that's where Pixar and other Disney animated films are going to go. It just makes more sense for the parents to see it there rather than go to the theater.
But Tenet showed that people don't like, companies are like, Tenet came out and they're like, whoa, we can't release, and everybody pushed their dates back.
Well, see, that's I was arguing. Well, it was more of a. It was started as David got into an argument. I used Tenet as an example of we can't rush to reopen everything.
Yeah.
Because people are not going to come out if they don't feel safe, and Tenet also was like a movie. I wanted to go see Tenet at the drive-in because I had such a good time seeing New Mutants.
Yeah.
And they didn't put it at the drive-in. You have to give people options to see your shit and feel safe.
Yeah.
You can't tell people, please risk your life to go see the new fucking Black Widow movie or whatever. No one's going to do that.
Yeah.
Or very few are going to do that. Only lunatics. I'm not going to do it. I'll just be like, well, I'm going to buy the Blu-ray anyway, so I'll just wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. I don't know. I hope it comes back, but I just don't see it. Like, my wife's been desperate to see Wonder Woman 84. She's like, she really wants to see it. She's like, why don't they just put it on streaming? Like, I will pay whatever.
I bet you Christmas Day it comes on streaming. It's supposed to come out in theaters on Christmas Day. I think it bet you just goes on streaming, especially to compete. So? Yeah, especially to compete with Soul. I bet you they just throw it on.
Last thing I got to ask you, because I got to ask you about this, but the Snyder Cut.
Oh, fuck that. Biggest fucking waste of money. Look,
they're making a new movie.
Yeah, I kind of got it when it's like I just need to finish my effect shots. I caught it, but now that the actors are going back in, they have the fucking Joker. They have didn't they have somebody else who like they bring in a bunch of the actors to shoot new scenes. I'm like, wait a minute.
Joe Manganiello's coming back to like shoot new shit.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you had this done, and now it's like, oh, so this. I thought this was a cheap, easy way to get new content out while keeping people at home for the pandemic. Yeah. Now it's like a full fucking production. I don't know why they keep going to him. I don't know why they gave in to his shit. I think he is one of the worst fucking filmmakers on the planet. DC needs to move away from him. DC has learned all the wrong lessons. Now they fired in the books, the comic books. Every week now, every other book is Batman or Joker. Mm-hmm. They've minimized all of the heroes. You have a vast catalog of thousands of characters to do TVs and movie shows on, and all you learned from that Joker movie was like, we should just do all Joker all the time, which is the complete wrong lesson because you're gonna kill that character.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I think this is going to be the most expensive curiosity piece ever. I don't think it's going to be good. That's the thing. I don't think it's going to be good.
No, it's not going to be good.
I just think I'm going to watch every episode because I just want to.
It's going to be it's probably gonna make Batman v Superman look like Godfather. Because it's gonna be, I think this guy's gonna have total control over this. We're gonna be sitting there with our mouths open. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, he's got the reins. He's got the full reins now, and he's just gonna go crazy.
Yeah, my thing with it, I think, and I don't know if we talk about this on your podcast. Are you still doing your podcast? Remember we talked about?
I do a podcast, but that one is kind of defunct now.
Okay. Well, on your podcast, which was called "I Love Racism," well, I at one point, the thing of the DC characters is that they're kind of wholesome, they're kind of corny, they're kind of Americana, but that's what makes them fun. That's why I like them. I don't go to read a Green Lantern story to watch, like, a woman get fucked in the ass and 9 heads get chopped off, I go for fun. I go for fun. And when you try to, like, and I feel like DC's trying so hard to make these characters dark and adult, you kind of break the characters. You kind of, it doesn't fit. It's like if you want to make a fucking hardcore porn and you cast the Flintstones in it. It's like, you're breaking these characters. That's not what they were made to do.
Yeah. Like I remember this quote from Zack Snyder, who's like, "Yeah, man, once you lose your virginity and fuck to my movie and realize that all your heroes are like corrupt and shit, your politicians are corrupt. Like maybe you can see why I fucking do what I do in superhero movies." I'm like, these movies are about wish fulfillment, you douchebag.
Yeah, and like Superman's not corrupt. Like that's why he's Superman. Yeah. Oh, but if I want to see a corrupt Superman, I'll watch The Boys, which is probably way better than whatever this guy's gonna do. So.
I know it really is.
Christian, where can people find you on social media now that your racism podcast is on?
You can find my old racism podcast on Spotify. Cristian Duran SVP on Instagram, Duran on Twitter, ChristianDuranComedy.com. You can stream my album King Latifah on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, wherever you want. Check it out.
Okay, great. And guys, if this is your first time hearing the podcast, you're a Toy Story fan, and for some reason you hate Toy Story 1, so you didn't listen to the first one. You're like, I love Toy Story 2. But if this is, or you like Pixar, or you're a Cristian Duran fan, this is your first time hearing the podcast. Guys, we have covered every Disney film in Walt Disney animated canon, from Snow White to Frozen 2. Now we're doing Pixar. This week was Toy Story 2. Next week is Monsters, Inc. with Billy Princell. So please subscribe to the podcast, Goose's Disney Pod, on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you hear podcasts. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Ray Goots. Follow the podcast, Goots' Disney Pod. And tune in next week for Monsters, Inc. with Billy Princell. Cristian, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, buddy.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.